Hello, YouTube. It's the Utopian Buddha. All right, dude. I just want to talk about this because I've been reflecting on it. Right. So when I was 20 or 21, I had this spiritual experience that really shook, like really rocked my world. Right. It changed my atheistic views. Actually, at that time, I wasn't even atheist. I just never thought about God. But like, what happened inside my mind's eye, my consciousness was seized by this vision, right? I saw the dualities of the universe, male, female, father, heaven, mother, earth, light, dark, all of the dualities. And they started to spiral into the center of the circle in my mind's eye. And as I went, and this vision lasted all of 3 seconds. As I went into the center of the circle, the happiness turned to joy. The joy turned into bliss. The bliss became indescribable. And then when I went into the center of the circle, I was gone, dude. I was gone. So that like experience radically transformed me, but like it was like but that sudden shock of enlightenment really destabilized my consciousness, right? Like I remember after that day I was hyper conscious of things, but I was really awkward. Like there were parts of my psyche that hadn't integrated that experience. I think that's what that was. And what happened after that was just a lot of I just went through a lot of experiences. I was really awkward. I said all I was kind of crazy. I had two psychotic breaks. One was after an LSD experience, and the second was after when I was prescribed Adderall, which was like the dumbest thing, dude. And I did a bunch of that stuff, and that drove me into psychosis too. And I was thinking all kinds of crazy stuff, like I was in the Truman Show, and that like I was Neo in the Matrix. It was totally nuts. But here's the thing, right? That vision or that psychotic break has a deep truth within it. Because what happened was that I that the self, the capital S self, which is in all things and all things, fused with my little ego. And my ego started to believe that it was the capital S self. So I believed that I was like the only thing in existence, like I was God. And that's the truth in the sense that like God is the only thing in existence. But that's the thing, right? Like it's this paradox of like you're not God, but you are God. But the second you think you are God, you're not God, you know? And the second thing that you think you're not God, you are God. It's really it's paradoxical. But so that experience happened, right? And then I just started writing these books, right? Like I never chose, like when I first sat down and started writing this first book, the first book I ever wrote is called The Paradoxical Light on Utopia versus the Fall of Civilization. It just like kind of came out. I wasn't expecting it to turn into a book, but it turned into a book. And and I just kept writing books, and then I started to realize like some spiritual process is going on within me. It's been a slow, painful process, like in between that spiritual experience and today. I've been to jail, I've been through depression, I've been in psychosis. So it's been a really bumpy road, but these days I'm starting to like really integrate my personality into that spiritual experience, you know, really realizing my oneness with all things. And I would say and I was listening to Eckhart Tolle, and Eckhart Tolle said his greatest achievement is his ability to stop thinking whenever he wants to, whenever. And I'm really good at that. I'm really good at just like dropping my thoughts. Like, you know, my thoughts are like a tool. If I'm thinking, like I can just drop them. And I'm pretty good at it. I would say I'm like 80% effective at it. Sometimes my thoughts take over, but usually I'm able to just still them. Like I'm just able to drop the thoughts and just be in complete stillness, which is a really effective psychological quality to have because it keeps me in a state of peace. I'm in a state of peace probably 90% of the time. And even when I'm thinking my thoughts, because my awareness is in peace, whenever I fall into thought, like my psychology has been so changed that even my thoughts are pretty peaceful. Like all my thoughts are always about like world peace and like, you know, love and like happiness and joy and stuff. And like how to make the world a better place, you know? So my thoughts, because like I'm able to like transcend the self by resting in a place of stillness, my thoughts are naturally decentralized for the most part. I mean, sometimes I think about myself like everyone, but for the most part, my thoughts are pretty much broad. They're more, they encompass larger stretches of time and space, right? Like I read stuff on physics and stuff like that. Like I was reading this thing on quantum physics and theory of relativity. Like I think the University of London just came out with a. All right, that's besides the point. I think they're trying to reconcile general relativity and quantum physics, and it hasn't worked so much yet. but they're kind of working on it. I couldn't understand the paper, but it was really kind of interesting. But anyways, okay, so 5 minutes. So what's been happening is what I realized was like, I think what happened was a spiritual experience, like transforming when I was in my early 20s. I went through all this suffering, all of this growth too. You know, suffering is a cause for growth. And I think it's kind of like God kind of planted a seed of like bliss in me, right? Like a bliss seed, a seed of bliss. That's going to be the title of this talk, Seeds of Bliss. And now that seed has like grown, you know, with the rain and the sun of divine wisdom, the rain of my thoughts, or I don't know how the analogy works exactly. The soil of my mind, the plant of utopian love, peace, and justice and truth has grown within the soils of my consciousness. And finally the plant has stretched towards the sun, the light of God, and the plant is growing and growing. And I think my books are kind of like the fruit of the plant, right? Like at first my plant was producing like one fruit every 2 years, but recently the pace at which I've been writing books, and they've been becoming of better quality, has gone up dramatically. Yeah, that's what's been going on with me, guys. So I think like there's something going on with like, see, and the thing is like, you know, a lot of people don't have like, and the thing is like, I've had these psychotic breaks. So the barrier between my conscious and subconscious, my conscious and unconscious mind has like gone away, right? So I'm super creative. My thoughts are highly visual. They're very, they're creative. They're always, you know, most people think repetitive thoughts, or so I'm told. My thoughts are almost never repetitive. They're probably repetitive about like 20% of the time, but most of the time they're pretty novel. I'm always thinking about new things. You know, that's the basis of creativity, is that your thoughts are creative, which means that they're always spontaneous. They're not tied to time so much, so they're not a result of your past neural patterns. Their new neural pathways are always like forming. So yeah, I think that's a good place to stop. All right, see you guys later.